Hey there, so right in front of you, you are looking at what is the cheapest AMD mini PC on Amazon right now that you can buy brand new. And well, it's rocking hardware that we've taken a look at before. It's the Ryzen 5 5500U, a chip that is very familiar to this channel. It's pretty much the chip that built this channel. And it's starting to hit some price points that make it a very compelling option, especially when you consider what its competition is in terms of price. See, even though the Ryzen 5 5500U at this point is going on almost 5 years old, it still holds up in today's market, especially because of the price point that it comes in at. This system you can buy right now for $230. Now, when we look at the mini PCs that are around its price point, there are two paths that you can go down. You either go down the path of the Beelink Mini S 12th generation here that's rocking the Intel N95 or the N100 nowadays. This system you'll normally find for around $160, sometimes going down to as low as $150. And that pretty much makes up all of the price category of that $100 to $200 computer. It's mostly just variations of the hardware that you see here. Of course, another possibility is going down the route of a refurbished computer. Usually those end up being like this HP Elite Desk Mini. There's about 1,000 different variations of this with varying degrees of hardware, but a lot of them end up falling within that $100 to $200 price point. At those price points, you're very limited by the type of expandability that you have, and overall you do have these CPUs that are even older than what is in the W04. You can see when we talk about the Ryzen 5 5500U, again, we have to look at what's around it, and just in terms of CPU performance, this is crushing. Any mini PC like this is getting absolutely destroyed, and even these refurbished units can't really keep up with the performance, especially the performance per watt. And that's, I think, what's going to be Zen 2's legacy more than anything else. It's the insane performance per watt that you get out of this thing. See, actually booting into the system and taking a look at the BIOS, you will end up finding that there's not really a whole lot of options here. You can, of course, do the usual adjustments that pretty much anybody would want to do. That is, increase the video memory. Usually going up to 4 GB is about all you need, but for some games you might even have to go all the way up to 8. It's not really going to affect performance. All it really does is let you bypass any kind of artificial locks that developers put in there to kind of prevent you from even trying to play a game on hardware that in theory shouldn't be able to run it. So while the CPU is fantastic on this system, the GPU is a little bit more of a mixed bag. See, again, when you compare it to all of its contemporaries within the price range that it's at, it does look pretty great. In terms of a comparison with any kind of Alder Lake N processor like the N100, N200, these just cannot compete. One of their biggest selling points is the fact that they do support QuickSync, and that does mean that it makes this a really fantastic option for something like a low budget Plex server or Jellyfin server. But there are ways to get these AMD processors to work very similarly, but at the end of the day, QuickSync does just have wider support, but in terms of raw performance, it's not even comparable. While you're not getting the latest driver updates with the 5500U, you're still getting so much more raw performance that's actually going to let you play quite a wide assortment of games. And look, when it comes to the gaming performance, it's not going to be remarkable. You're not really going to be playing modern AAA titles. You're mostly going to have to stick with esports titles, and it's not necessarily always going to be the case. While games like Valorant and Rainbow Six Siege do run really well on here, even if you do have to get pretty aggressive with the graphics settings, it is possible to get them to be playable. Where things fall apart though is in heavier ones like CS2, where the performance really just starts to fall apart there. But if you're an indie game head, then this is also a really great system for that. There's a wide variety of indie games, both new and old, that will run really well on here, and you will never have a chance of playing on a system like this. Of course, another main benefit is just in terms of expandability in general. If we pop open the G3 here, we can see that the G3 is already one of the best Alder Lake N processor systems because of the fact that it does actually have 2 SSD slots, even if one of them is a non-standard size. Or I guess I shouldn't say non-standard, but it's a non-common size. But very quickly, you'll start to notice that there are some downsides to going with the N series here. And if we open up the W04 over here, and it is also really easy to get into, even easier than the G3 because it's just magnetic. So you just pop this off really easily. But once you take a look at here, you can actually see that we have 2 RAM slots instead of the 1. And that's because Alder Lake N series processors run in single channel. So that's part of the reason why the graphics performance on this is extra bad. But it also does limit the maximum amount of RAM that you can even have on your system. Now for just a 4-core processor without hyper-threading, that might not matter all that much, but it is a limitation nonetheless. And another thing is that both of these M.2 slots are not going to be running at their maximum speed. That's not a problem with the G3, it's more a platform issue where they don't give it a full bandwidth speed at all. On the other hand, here, while you might see that it's only one M.2 slot, if you take a look at the magnetic cover here, you can see that it actually has a slot for a 2.5-inch SSD. So you do actually get more expandability here. In the box, it comes with a ribbon cable that you can pretty much just hook up to the actual SSD itself and then plug that into the board and you'll have the second SSD slot. And the benefit here is that you do get the full bandwidth of PCIe 3 here, though again, it is PCIe 3, so you can't really utilize a Gen 4 NVMe and expect to use its full speed. You can, of course, mount a Gen 4 or a Gen 5 in here, but it will just be limited in terms of bandwidth. But we're talking about better CPU performance, better GPU performance, better expandability. So now the question really comes down to whether or not you should go with something like the G3 or if you should just go for this specific system here. And it really comes down to it depends. Well, personally, I think that the price difference between the two is low enough that I would really just go for the W04. I could understand being really tempted by these extremely low prices, especially because you do get a very functional system here. At the end of the day, if all you want to do is browse the web, want to look at YouTube videos, and you essentially just want a media center PC, something like this will get the job done and you don't need to spend the extra $60 to $80 to get something like this. But if you ever think that you will be doing more than that with the computer, you spend a little bit more money, you get a system that's going to last way longer. This is just going to give you more upgradability. You're getting faster performance. And if you ask me, you're getting better IO. See, if we take a look at the front IO here, you'll see that while we have similar USB 3.0 ports at the front, 2 of them, you do get an extra Type-C here in the front, and that is going to let you use a Type-C dock. Of course, we do have the headphone out in the front, which is something that I'm not a fan of. If we flip these around, you'll see that in the back, we do have USBs in similar count, but the difference here now is that the G3 actually has USB 3.0 while these are just 2.0 over here. But that sacrifice is made so that instead of having one Ethernet jack, it has 2. This means that this system is a lot more flexible in terms of what you can actually do with it. With dual Ethernet jacks, you could pretty much turn a system like this into your own personal router that you're managing yourself, or you could even use it just to link share so you can actually share your internet with another Ethernet device. Without really having to run another cable from your router all the way to that PC, you can pretty much just bounce it off from here. It works surprisingly well. Of course, both of these systems are some of my favorites in the budget realm, specifically because of just how easy both of them are to access, while also both being very low power and quiet. But again, at the price points that this specific system is at right now, it really does seem like a great option. If you're just looking for a mini PC to use day to day, this covers pretty much everything that the vast majority of people are going to want. If you need something high performance, you already know that, and you're not looking at this price segment. That being said though, there is a lot that you can get done with with a mini PC like this. Do not think that it is a slouch. I'm working on a video where I'm actually going to be using this specific mini PC to produce an entire YouTube video. So all the editing, all the recording, everything is going to be done on just this mini PC, so that you can see just exactly what a Zen 2 APU can do in 2024. So get subscribed for that. Check out this system down below, as well as the G3 and those refurbished systems. All of these have a place in the market, but I really do think that the W04 right now is one of the best deals that you can get on a mini PC. And if you've been shopping around that $200 to $250 price point, the toolless upgradability really is just such a huge selling point to me, because this makes maintenance so much easier, and it's toolless, so you don't really need to mess around with a screwdriver. You are going to need one to get the SSD out of there though, but you at least won't have any screws that you can lose from this, so it's a lot less intimidating for people. But again, check it all down below. I'll catch you guys in the next one.